The manga begins when we see a man putting on a black spectacle and dressed all in black in action. He made a call to a higher authority and reported the situation to him. He has taken care of the target and now he wants to clean up the scene, but he is badly injured. Some kids are seen calling him an instructor. He encourages them not to give up and the kids remind him he has a lot of things to teach them. He calls their attention and reminds them of his usual saying not to stop moving forward and to live proud. He apologizes to his students for leaving so soon as he had no choice. Knowing that he has left something of himself in this world, he smiles and gives up the ghost. That is the line of what he does and he enjoys it. Then, a woman sings with a gentle voice and we see an infant on bed who in his thoughts struggles with why his sight is dim and where he is at that moment and more surprised to why he is an infant. At that moment, he begins to reflect on his past. The life he lived in the past was a dangerous one and his calling is a dangerous job in the underbelly of society. He was a secret agent. He lived in a world where he has to risk his life every day. Afterwards, he decided to retire when he was around 50 and started teaching the next generation of agents instead. Then, one day, he took a mission and successfully eliminated the target, but it cost his life. Back to the present, what he sees now shakes him even though he has lived a life that is far from being normal in the past. Two ladies stand beside his cot talking, but he couldn't get what they were saying since he is just a baby and can't make out words yet. Seeing one of the ladies with cat ears and tail, he remembers that from his previous life that there's cat ears-shaped accessories commonly used in cosplay cafe places, but the ones he sees now look really real. The cat ear lady uses magic to produce a fireball on one of her fingers and that amazed the infant so much. He then concludes that with the cat ears and magic that create fireballs in the air which didn't exist in his previous world, there is no doubt that he is not on Earth anymore. Now we know his name is Master Sirius. He has grown pretty nicely and he is now 4 years old. He is having a training session with the lady with red ponytail hair whose name is Noelle. She's a maid with cat ears on her head and she collapses from just doing half of his training. Another maid with silver hair whose name is Irina is also seen coming with a tray having a towel and some refreshments and she also raises Sirius. The man beside Noelle is Demas, everyone calls him D and he is the cook of the mansion. As for his parents, they aren't there and nobody ever talks about his parents and Sirius wonders where they are. Neon then reviews the basics of magic with Sirius. She explains that in the world there are 4 properties which are fire, water, wind, and earth. She belongs to the fire. Those with fire affinity will excel in using water magic, so one's magic is based on their affinity. Using magic of another attribute is possible but it will be significantly weaker. Achromatic is what Neon and Irina find out when they investigate their affinity, which means in the eyes of the society, he is inept, but even at that Neon and Irina still show him love and they assure him that he can still use magic even if he has no affinity. After all, he could use already cast light, impact and string. He has even mastered impact to the degree that amazes Noelle herself because it's pretty unheard of for someone as young as Sirius to be able to use that magic so well. Sirius appreciates Neon for teaching him magic and she becomes so excited. Praising Neon like that makes her get cocky. Irina interrupts their conversations when she offers to serve the both of them tea. In the 4 years Sirius has been living in the mansion, Irina has watched over him, Noelle plays with him and he ate D's meal. It has been a blissful life for Master Sirius, but you know what, an everlasting paradise doesn't exist on Earth. A few days later, it was the day when Neon and Demas went to town for shopping. Sirius decides to play out all by himself since Neen is not home, but he wants to tell Irina first. Subsequently, he heads to her room, knocks on the door and when no one answers he opens the door and finds Irina lying helplessly on the ground. He tries to help her to her bed and after some few minutes, Irina finally wakes up and he offers her a glass of water. Sirius asks what is wrong with her, to which he replies that it is the Aquos disease and there's a medicine for it in the mansion. She promises she will be fine as soon as Neon and Demas return. Sirius says he will rather take care of her before they return. He remembers Neon has a book of magic and he quickly gets it so he could read about Aquos disease. Meanwhile, Aquos disease as written in the book is a rare disease where the patient uncontrollably releases magic from their body. When infected, the patient will be struck down with fever, bedridden. Complete recovery is possible by giving the patient a medicine mixed with aqua herb. But if not dealt with in the span of half a day, the patient may exhaust all their magic. That, coupled with the extreme fever, may result in the patient's death. That is why even though complete recovery is possible, the disease is considered as a terrifying one, but Irina still assures Sirius not to worry, that she will be fine as soon as D and Neon return. D and Neon will not return until the next day by noon and he knows what Irina is saying is just a load of crap and he has no time for their arrival. He picks up a knife reflecting on what he read in the book. From the book he knows that aqua grass grows around lakes and Dee once told him that there is a river behind the mansion and so aqua grass should be there. Sirius heads out of the mansion in search of aqua grass to save his favorite person from dying. Sirius keeps walking around the forest with his tiny kid's body and that seems a bit difficult. He finally arrives at the river and he thinks that the lake wouldn't be far off. He then senses something and it turns out to be goblins. According to the books, this creature has the strength of an adult male despite only being 1 meter tall. They are not really fast and not too smart, but still too strong of a foe for a mere human child. However, Sirius attempts to catch them by surprise. The goblin looks scary with horns on its head and 2 sharp teeth with the structure of a human. Sirius launches a punch with his small fist on the goblin but he falls to the ground. The goblins are now 2 in number and in no time, he defeats one of them. The second brings out a weapon but Sirius doesn't have a weapon with him. He tries to use magic but the long incantation didn't help. Sirius wishes he could unleash the magic simply by pulling the trigger like he did in his previous life with a name like Impact. Then, it should have the destructive power comparable to a grenade launcher in his previous world. Soon, he begins to feel strange and then he sees a strange object right in front of him. He picks it up and he is able to defeat the second goblin with it. Sirius wonders what on earth that could be as he watches his hand. He felt like he just shot an actual grenade launcher. He decides to think about that later and then continues with the searching of the aqua grass for Irina's treatment. He returns home and prepares the medicine and brings it for Irina. Irina is sleep-talking when Sirius brings the medicine to her and she is mentioning the name Ari. He wakes her up asking her to take the medicine and she does. So Sirius has to await the results patiently and watch over her. Unfortunately, his body is at its limit so he sleeps off beside her laying his head on one side of the bed. Few hours later, from Sirius' sleep, he feels a hand tenderly caressing his head and he knows it is no one but Irina. He wakes up and hugs Irina tightly, seeing she is back to life. Irina thanks him and then she finds out that his face is covered with blood. Irina is so shocked but Sirius calms her down when he says it isn't his blood. Irina asks whose blood it is and he replies that he will only discuss that after Dee and Neon have returned. Finally, the duo returns from shopping and Sirius stands to narrate his experience with that. However, instead of saying it's a real-life experience, he tells them he has a dream, skewing the fact a little bit. He continues by saying the dream is about a man that isn't him but it was as if he became that man, living his life and he grows together with the man in his dream. That is why he could memorize letters so quickly, and also read a book and mix up a medicine for Aquo's disease. Furthermore, according to him, the reason why he could defeat the goblins was that he learnt and watched how the man in his dream fights and thanks to those dreams he saved Irina. After narrating his story, he wonders how they will react to it and probably they might call him a monster. Surprisingly, even without proof, Irina believes him and says it explains why he could grow so quickly. Neon also agrees that the story perfectly explains the black tea he made even though it has lots of unbelievable parts. Sirius is quite excited that they understand. They pledge their allegiance again to their master Sirius and vows to be on his side serving him no matter what happens. Sirius appreciates them all for believing him. A few years after that, Master Sirius is now 12 years old. Now, he goes searching in the forest on his own. Going around kicking monster butt, training himself to become an adventurer. That day, he senses a monster presence and again he senses 2 humanoids and it seems they are being chased by a monster. He quickly rushes to their rescue and he makes it in time to save them from the monster asking if they are all right. He stares at the 2 humanoids which turn out to be rare silver wolves with silver ears and tails. Sirius pats the female wolf on her head and promises not to hurt them. Seeing that the female wolf was trying to protect his sleeping brother, he asks her to leave things to her and she sleeps off too. Sirius brings them to the mansion and while they are sleeping Irina worries that they might be runaway slaves and she asks Sirius what he is planning to do with them. In response, Sirius tells Irina he is going to take care of them and train them so that they could look after themselves in future. Irina asks if she should educate them with servant knowledge but Sirius objects saying he didn't bring them home to raise them to be his servants, moreover he has more than enough servants already. Irina with a sorrowful expression tells Sirius she can't always stay by his side forever and that shocks Sirius. The 2 wolves finally regain consciousness and then the introduction takes place. The female wolf introduces herself to be Amelia and then thanks Sirius for saving them. The male says his name is Reyes. Sirius asks the 2 to stay with them until they recover and after that, they have 2 options. First is to take them to the town and then they will be free to live their life however they want. The second is to learn how to live from him, and he will give them the knowledge and power that is necessary to survive and make them strong. Without hesitation, the two wolves decided to follow Sirius. The female wolf especially wants to be strong so he could protect her brother. Master Sirius, while trying to use his magic to heal Amelia's wound, finds a scar on her back, and when he asks her about it, she says it's her mother that bites her. A bite from her own mother? That somehow shocks Sirius, but Amelia explains that her mother biting her shoulder was proof that her mother loves her, but then to save her from monsters she jumped into a pack of monsters. Sirius understands that her mother must have done that in order to protect them, meaning she values them even more than her own life. She even bites Amelia strongly, which means she loves her very, very much. Amelia is already weeping after hearing that. Sirius gives her a warm hug and advises her to eat and study a lot and become a strong person, and then someday her heart will be as strong as her mother's. Neon and Irina tease Sirius by saying Amelia will fall for her after getting that kind of treatment from him. Sirius, with a serious tone, says she won't receive that treatment for long, as he will be training them in a few days and then he will not have time for that. Amelia becomes too fond of Sirius, and that gives her brother, Reyes, a sleepless night for some reason. Seeing that his sister's face turns red anytime he looks at Sirius makes him feel weird, and he concludes he doesn't even like Sirius. Amelia becomes worried when she couldn't find her in bed, and she rushes to Sirius immediately to inform him about it. They begin to search for him around the house and then in the forest. Unfortunately, they encounter a wild monster, and Amelia quickly identifies it as a cursed child. She further narrates that among the silver wolves, those who can do a full-body transformation into a wolf are regarded as bringers of calamity and misfortune, and under their tribe's rule, they should be executed. The demon exclaims that he is strong enough and can survive on his own, so he should go and take his sister back with him. Turns out the monster is Reyes they are looking for. Sirius suggests he has a duel with him, and if he wins he will let him go wherever he wants, but if Sirius wins he will do one thing: he will tell him. Reyes, out of anger, says Sirius usually acts as if he is the toughest shit. He begins to run so fast and his blows look like they will break defenses in just one hit, but he moves like an amateur. Sirius knocks him to the ground after some moment of fight. Reyes begs Sirius to let him go so he won't bring back luck to his sister. Sirius tells him face to face that he doesn't care about their tribe's law, and all he knows is that he is going to be his disciple, and that's it. Amelia with tears begs and hugs her brother not to leave him. Reyes then agrees to return to the mansion with them. When they get back to the mansion, Amelia shows her gratitude to Sirius for helping her and his brother. Sirius then asks Amelia what her reason for living was, and with all excitement she replies that she has found a new reason for herself. Unexpectedly she hugs Sirius so tightly and says she was like, "I love you and I will always follow you even to the ends of the world." That day, Amelia's admiration for Sirius evolves into feelings of love. A few days later, at night time, Amelia organized a small feast to have them participate in the Silver Moon Vow. The Silver Moon Vow is a ritual where one swears their vows to the moon, and once the vow is made, they must not break it at all cost. Subsequently, Amelia and Sirius vows they will follow Sirius as their master until the end of their lives, to which Sirius accepts immediately. That day, they become the servants of Sirius. The Silver Wolves begin their training immediately, and they are doing very well. Their master, Sirius, commends them both for working hard. It's been a year since the Silver Moon Vow. Amelia and everyone has grown a lot. Amelia not only grew taller, but her appearance has become more mature. Her silver hair that used to be shoulder length has now grown down to her waist. She will definitely be a beauty in the future. Also, Reyes' body has matured nicely and he's about the same size as Amelia but a bit taller than Amelia. The siblings are growing well and there's no problems with living in the mansion. In terms of heading to the outside world, their preparations are slowly moving forward. Then, Sirius suggests that they go on a picnic to take a breather. Irina tells them to leave without her since she could barely walk in her present state, but Sirius insists she go with them so won't be the only one at home. Sirius and Dee promise to carry her on a chair so they could spend some time together since Irina's body has been getting pretty frail lately. They finally arrive at their destination and they decide to play first before having lunch. After a few hours of playing they had their lunch. Sirius relaxes his head on Irina's thigh just like he usually did when he was a young boy. Irina comments that he has gotten so big and thankfully their family members have increased. Irina tells them she needs to have an afternoon nap and the kids leave her to have some rest. After they have left, a lady whom Irina calls Lady Aria appears and she comments that Sirius has grown to be so fine. Amelia went back to check on Irina and he found out something had happened. He quickly calls on Sirius to come quickly and he finds out Irina has collapsed. Then return home immediately and lay her on bed while Sirius checks her body out with his magic. When he got the result, his expression changed and he didn't want to say out the result. Irina insists he tells her the result so that everyone can hear, as she has already prepared herself and everyone else also has a right to know. With looking at her face, Sirius announces to everyone that Irina has just 2 months to live. No, only 1 month he meant. Everyone looks so sad as if the world is ending soon, but Irina pleads that they prepare themselves. Half a month later, Irina now lives a bedridden life and Sirius has to bring her food to her bed. He wants to tell her something that morning, but she never minds him. She gets out of bed and calls the kids for them to have breakfast together. The children are surprised to see Irina standing on her feet again and they ask if she is healed, to which she replies that she will explain later. She prepared the breakfast and they all ate while she watched them. After they have all finished eating, Irina calls their attention to listen to her and she gives them the ever-shocking story of their life. She is like, "Today I will die." Are you surprised too? I mean, who announces his death so confidently? I guess we have one now. It's our Irina. She further explains that she seems fine at that moment due to a certain medicine called Forbidden Life Boost. This drug boosts the user's physical ability. It's a drug that can even make pain disappear. The duration is only 1 day, but the after effects are devastating, so she only has a day to live. So for the time being she can live as she wishes. The children gather around her and she spends time with them before she returns to lay back on bed. She appreciates everyone for creating a fun time with her and she assumes everyone can live without her now, and then she smiles. Sirius strangely gets angry with her smile and that makes Irina worry if he has offended him. Sirius breaks down completely with tears and for the first time ever he calls Irina mother. He claims she is one of the mothers that gave birth to him and raised him. Afterwards, she calls each of them one after the other and gives them her farewell words. When it is, Sirius turns again. He cries like a baby and keeps calling Irina mother. That is the first time Sirius ever cried since he was born, and so Irina asks him to cry for her. Everyone gathers around her again and she feels so loved to have such a family send her away. She closes her eyes and finds herself in a completely strange place. Arya, the lady she saw at the picnic, shows up again and tells her she is late in coming. Turns out Arya is Sirius' mother and she dies after giving birth to him. Arya appreciates her efforts on higher son and Irina informs her that her son is a lady killer already. The two are happy they meet in heaven again and they continue their friendship. The children found their way into the city and they went to Ariutsun. Ariutsun is surely a big and amazing city. The first reason they came is to take an entrance exam. They are given entrance passes with their ID numbers carved at the back of it. They are also given a pamphlet guide to the school and they make payments. They found a picture of someone on the pamphlet which turns out to be the principal of the school. A teacher of the school comes to inform him that the entrance ceremony is about to start. The principal used to go to the interview without a disguise, but that makes the examinees nervous that they could not perform their true abilities. He then decides to take the form of one of the teachers and judge the examinees. He enters and everyone including other teachers think he is a commoner teacher. Soon, the examination begins and the examinees first introduce themselves. Emilia and Reyes were called to display their magic and they are really amazing. Definitely. They pass the exam, all thanks to their great teacher Sirius. Next, it is Sirius's turn to take the exam and he is asked if he is the one that taught the silver wolves, to which he replies yes. Then they decide he goes with the attribute detector, Alstoro Elmoroy, who is the son of an upper-class noble. They both display their power of magic and Alstoro discovers Sirius has no affinity and they make a joke of him. The examiners apologize to Sirius and ask him to show them his magic. His display of the power of magic without affinity is unbelievable. The examiner asks Sirius if he was the one that taught Emilia and Reyes and he answers yes and adds that their strength comes from their own hard work and talent, he only taught them a few tricks. The examiner asks who taught him, to which he answers that no one. Sirius taught himself since he finds self-teaching interesting. The principal, who disguised as the examiner, comments that Sirius is just the same as him and he finds him interesting. 3 days later, the results of the entrance are out but none of the children finds their name on the list of the room assignment. They decide to ask the receptionist and he asks them to come with him. The receptionist showed them their dorm, which is inside the forest. The children feel down and argue with the receptionist that it is not their dorm. The receptionist showed them the proof on paper and it was written that acromatics have no right to reside in the traditional dorm, therefore, they are to be housed in the old honorary management building. It even has Gregory's signature and family seal. The receptionist leaves them there saying his work is done. Seeing that they have no choice, the children decide to do some cleaning and renovations to make it better. Then, one of the teachers from the interview, who happens to be the principal disguised, comes to them to discuss the meaning. He reveals that Gregory pulls some strings from behind the scenes without informing him, and that's why they are assigned to that dorm. He vows he will fix the situation so that they can live in the school dorms. Sirius insists he is fine with the dorm, but the dorm is far from the school. Sirius tells him the distance is no problem, and if the building is cleaned and renovated it will be usable. The teacher promises to report the case to the principal, and he warns them to be careful of Gregory because he values his pride as a noble over anything else and therefore has an extreme hate towards beast people. Sirius suggests that they name the building Diamond Manor as they heard that diamond is a transparent and highly valued gemstone. The teacher agrees, and he said Sirius already had something worth far more than a diamond. When the teacher left, Sirius tells the Silver Wolves to return to the school dorms, but they refuse. Then, he made them realize that the reason why they need to react with other people and living in the school dorms will give them the chance to have roommates even though he will be lonely. The siblings understand their master and they promise him they will do their best. The principal gives his speech to welcome the new students to the school. Rodwell, the principal of the school, appears to be a young man of about 20 years old, but in reality he's an elf that's just over 400 years old. He is known throughout the world as Magic Master, and everyone in the continent has heard about this great man. Sirius stares at him for a long time because he senses something odd about the principal. After watching him for a long time, he discovers he could change his voice and appearance. So, Sirius figures out that he is in disguise on their examination day. Emilia already has a roommate whose name is Reese, and she introduces her to Sirius. Reyes also had made a friend who happens to be his roommate as well, a fox beast man called Ro, and he says he is Reyes' underling. Now, their first teacher enters the class and introduces himself as Gregory, a specialist in fire and earth. He is a talented double attribute and a member of the proud Noble Society. Noble has an upper hand than anyone in the society. He says anyone who follows him, he will make him stronger, swearing by his family name. But you know what? Sirius and Reyes didn't believe him. The entrance ceremony comes to an end and each student is asked to check the class assignment and make their way to the assigned classroom. Sirius asks Emilia of Reese, and she says she got called back home and she has the school permission. Will Sensei meets with Sirius again and he tells him the security patrols for the school dormitory will not reach there, but Sirius assures him he will be safe. Fortunately for the trio, they are both in the same class and they are so excited about it. In the class, they meet the other students who were rude to them at first when he asks for Emilia's name, but later Sirius handles the situation. One of the students introduces himself as Mark Holtia, the second son of the esteemed Holtia family, and he is kind to Emilia unlike his friends. Turns out the other two students that were rude to Emilia earlier were Mark's servants. Mark admires Emilia's beauty and asks that she becomes her servant, to which she refuses, saying she has already pledged her life in service of a master. He asks if the master is Sirius, the rumored achromatic, and she confirms yes and vows she will never follow anyone else besides her master, Sirius. Later on, the first teacher enters the class and he introduces himself as Magana, the homeroom teacher for Carolus. He then asks each student to do a simple introduction of themselves. After the orientation, Mark comes to Sirius trying to make friends with him. Sirius asks of his servants and he says they have urgent business to take care of. It appears that the two servants are from a branch family of the Holtia family. Apparently, they were ordered by their parents to gain favor with Mark to raise their family status, and from the look of it, Mark is trying to change how both the Holtia family and those two think. He tells Sirius to inform him if his servants do anything inappropriate. After a short work, when Mark has left, Sirius encounters his two servants and they order him to make Emilia Mark's servant at that moment. After a short conversation with them, Sirius challenges them to a fight, and in no time he defeats the duo using fire arrow magic. The next day, Mark humbly apologizes to Sirius profusely. Apparently, the two servants were thrown all the way to the outskirts of town. As an apology, Sirius asks Mark to help out next time he is in trouble with a noble. Mark agrees to help to the best of his abilities when the time comes. They shake hands to seal the deal. Sirius, with his cool personality, is creating a great circle for himself. What do you like about him? My YouTube also needs a circle and I want you to be part of it, so friends, click on the like and subscribe button if you haven't.